Hello and welcome to the world-famous Driving You Crazy podcast. This is the show where we talk about all things transportation, anything that gets you from here to there. I am the traffic anchor and the transportation reporter for Denver 7 News, Jason Luber, and if you would like to be a part of the show, you could always give me a call on the listener hotline, the number 303-832-0217. Well, there is a growing movement by some drivers to not register their vehicles. Now, there are as many reasons for this as there are drivers out there. And what happened was, it was a few months back that I was contacted by one of my viewers. And he sent me a picture and asked me to look up this license plate that didn't look like a regular license plate from a state, even though it said Colorado on the top of it. And after doing some digging, it ends up that this license plate was created by a group that claims to be the Moors of Morocco and claims they are their own country here in Colorado, claims their own land in other places in the United States too. And they have their own license plates and licenses and IDs and that sort of thing that they created. And then they put their own license plates on their cars. Basically, they're not registered with the state. They're registered with the Moors of Morocco. Then I was sent another picture of a different plate that read Colorado American State National. That was on the top. On the bottom of the license plate, it said, "Notice, private automobile, not for hire." And in the middle, where there were supposed to be letters or numbers, there weren't any. There was just an image on the left side of a pseudo-American flag. And then on the right, an American eagle, the E pluribus unum American bald eagle. That image was on the right, in the center there. Now, after some more research about these plates, I was led to the website called freedomfromgovernment.org. And on there, they have several license plates that do have letters and numbers, but spell out private, using a combination of letters and numbers to spell out that word. And then on the top, it says, not operating in a commercial capacity. They also have another version that says Liberty across the middle. And I was really curious about these non-government plates and the reasons behind them and why people are putting them on their car. And so I invited one of the premier experts, I would say, in this field. His name is Trent Goodbody, and he started the freedomfromgovernment.org website. Trent, thanks so much for coming here and talking to me on the world-famous Driving You Crazy podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem.
So
good to be here.
Thanks, Trent. So first I wanted to ask, we'll start a bit with your background. Was there something or some event that sparked with you and made you interested in being free from government, or has this been just a lifelong position that you've had?
No, there was actually something that inspired it. And it was, a long time ago, I had a daughter. I have a daughter, and I had to pay, or her mother went and filed for child support, and I wasn't able to even take care of myself at that time, let alone anybody else. So it was a non-moving violation, and they took away my license for failure to pay child support, and that really just eliminated my ability to make money at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after I don't know, that kind of inspired me to just start traveling without license plates. But after a while, I've realized that, our right to travel predates any kind of government or constitution. It's actually the Declaration of Independence says it best when it says that our rights come from God, not from the government. So I feel like government has one purpose, and that is to protect our rights. And I feel like government, they're only supposed to be regulating commercial activity. So people that aren't making money on the roads should be able to, use them to travel. And it's not like it's, I don't know, the whole thing about the government and overreach it's been getting worse, it seems like. And now police feel like they have the right to just smash your window in, and that goes against the Fourth Amendment and, all kinds of protections that were supposed to be set in place. We're not supposed to even be searched without a warrant, but somehow, the traffic stop has been able to violate all these things. So I don't know if we could move kind of backwards so that the government was overreaching less into people's lives, and kind of putting it back where it belongs. I feel like the traffic stop is one of the biggest violations of rights that the government was able to accomplish, over time. So I don't know how we can fix this, but I do know that this is a big thing that's going on with all the people just wanting to reclaim their power.
Right. I watched you have a YouTube site, a page that's also called Freedom from Government. And I watched several videos of yours going back 10 or a dozen years when you created a bait car to entice police to pull you over. So you obviously have been doing this for a while. Did you think of this license plate? You said you drove around without one for a while, and then you decided to create one, or did you see somebody else create one first? How did that come about?
No, I think I just, it started out when I first started making these, I would put them on big stickers that would go on a 12x6 piece of plastic that you would put where the license plate goes. And it just said stuff like not for hire, lawful traveler. But these have evolved. Back then there were plastic and stickers, and it was kind of messy to try to put it together and stuff. But now
I remember seeing one that you said that you had private property clergy not for hire on it.
Yeah. That was another one.
Why clergy? Did that work better than just saying private or not for hire?
Well, the thing is that our freedom of religion, is supposed to be important as well. So if something says clergy, that it's even more of an indicator that government shouldn't be interfering. And that's just, I don't know, I was trying to be, trying to use that angle. I don't know exactly what it's going to take to get to change things, but I'm pretty sure we're well on our way. I mean, I'm up to about 7,000 orders on my website. Wow. So we've been distributing quite a bit of stuff, but at the same time, I don't agree with some of the other people that are doing things like you said. Somebody having a plate that actually says Colorado on it.
Yeah, there are, and they created it so it doesn't have letters or numbers in the middle. It just has that flag on the one side, or pseudo flag, and then the the American eagle, right, with the E pluribus unum on there, that symbol, and then it does have, and you can get it for any state, whether it's Nevada, where I think you are, or Colorado, or just any state.
Wow, yeah, I really don't agree with that kind of. Because I feel like if someone has the name of a state or even codes or different laws printed on the plate itself, that can get we're in some gray area, and it could be purported. People can, like, the state is not. We don't own that name, so if we put the state of Colorado on a license plate, we could be purporting to be having a state issued plate. And that's something I want to stay away from, because that could get people in trouble. If you have a plate that looks like a state plate, I believe that's a crime, or
right. No, it does. It totally does.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't agree with that, but I do agree with us being able to travel without permission, basically. See, my thing is I'm disabled, and I believe that I have the right from God to move my body with a machine, and it doesn't matter how many axles it has or how much weight is behind it. It's just a thing where I should be able to use assistance to move. So I don't know. I think that a lot of people feel the same way. And there's in this environment that we have with the government, like the guys at the top are just look like idiots, like Joe Biden. And I don't know. I believe that it probably makes everybody down below, everybody from the president down. It feels like maybe they even have permission to be corrupt because there's so much corruption going on. So I don't know. I feel like it's time for us to take back what is ours. And I don't know. The thing about government is that they're our servants. They are not our masters. And lately they've taken the role of authoritarian. I don't know. I wish we could find some way to have a peaceful coexistence between police officers and the people who are supposed to be serving.
Mm-hmm. My guest is Trent Goodby. He's the founder of freedomfromgovernment.org, where we're talking about these private license plates, non-state issued license plates. How did it feel, Trent, the first time you put that license plate, the one you created, on that piece of plastic? How did it feel to put it on your car? Were you nervous about what the first interaction would be with law enforcement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Of course.
There had to be a first interaction. So what was that like?
Well, the first interaction, I was actually driving my friend's car, and it had state plates on it, but we were going to the beach in the middle of the night and got stopped, and that video is on my channel. But it was not an easy interaction. The cop was screaming at me to do stuff, and I told him that he needed to read this piece of paper, and it was not. I mean, it was very stressful, and I think they teach cops to be, to bark orders so that you don't have a chance to think or whatever. And then there's the flashing lights that, I don't know, but
yeah, because you also
I ended up going to jail.
Oh, you did, and because you have been, you had. I saw that video. Was that the hour-long or so video where they took you to jail and they were questioning you?
Yeah, that was that. And then it was so messed up because they did a bunch of underhanded stuff. Like, I was recording going into the courthouse, because I feel like, they always say, "Oh, well, we're recording too," but you should have seen the transcripts. They were messed up really bad. So, I don't trust them. So I attempted to take a recording device into the courtroom, and they made sure to have a metal detector outside the courtroom. They would not let me go into the courtroom. So I got arrested for failure to appear in the hallway of the courthouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've had, I'm sure, subsequent interactions, and I think again you're out there in Nevada, or you were in Oregon and California for a time, and you're probably in a city, I think, where the local police know what you're doing. They know who you are. They probably don't hassle you at this point. But what do you? And so you probably aren't having too many more subsequent interactions at this point, right?
No, where I live out here in the middle of nowhere in Nevada, we have a group of people that are doing the same thing, and we don't get messed with. So, I mean, that's nice.
Well, what if you let's say you took a road trip to Los Angeles? Do you think you would have interactions there? Do you police in other places understand your arguments?
It's hard to say who understands and who doesn't, but I think that we are gaining ground. I mean, we're not going away. And when the police do things, when the police use violence and threats and force, one of the main things I tell people is to always record and always publish the interaction, even if it looks bad. It still needs to be out there, because most of the time these police that are smashing windows and violating people's rights, the the main thing about that is that they are being violent, and I don't think that's right for someone who just wants to travel without travel freely without being harassed. Is they don't deserve that. They don't. It seems like the police presume that all property that exists is theirs. Uh, it would not be right for. I mean, it's not right for someone who has an illegitimate license plate or no license plate at all to have their property broken. That's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like we have to change things and turn this around to where they're just not always being violent. But I think they have actually got a memo that breaking windows is not appropriate, and I haven't seen them really do that much anymore. Because think about it, if you get a piece of glass in somebody's eye, that that could potentially last a lifetime.
Right.
That injury. So I don't know. I don't think it's right to be breaking windows in the face of people who are simply trying to be left alone. I don't know. It's tough, but
And
Rosa Parks
oh, go
Rosa
ahead. Sorry.
Parks never would have. Yeah, no. Rosa Parks never would have. You know, if she never would have stood up for herself, then things would have never changed. And I feel like the same thing. We have the right to travel predates any constitution or any government. We had the right to move our body around with a horse and carriage or whatever before, and before the government even existed. So I don't know. People say that you're using a 2,000-pound machine and it's a weapon and all this. But the people that I know that travel without a license or registration, they are the most careful people I know. Because they don't rely on a third party for profit insurance company to indemnify their actions.
You
They're,
mentioned
they,
like a horse and buggy, because I do know that
yeah,
there are some states that do and some states that don't. I think Ohio does, and maybe Pennsylvania doesn't for the
yeah,
Amish. And they require a plate for some buggies and not for others, and so
mm,
it's different for different states, I believe.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I understand that,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. The Amish have won this fight quite a few times, already. That I mean, they might have to register their horse and buggy or whatever, but I don't know if they need a license or what or not. But
I, I want to talk
yeah,
more about this interaction stuff in just a little bit, but I also
yeah,
want to talk some
sure,
specifics for a minute about the plate itself. Your plate that you sell is different than some of those ones that we were talking about, the ones that I've seen, where your license plates are for sale on your store there at freedomfromgovernment.org. And
yeah.
describe what they look like. Are they metal? Are they? You said you don't have any states' names on there. What do they feel like? What do they say on them? And are there ways to customize them?
I don't really have any ways to customize them right now, but they're all made out of high quality aluminum. And the newest one that I have is it's got a gray background, and the main word in the middle says liberty, and then at the top it says not operating in a commercial capacity, and travel is a God-given right. Um, and it also says Genesis 126 on there, and there's another one like you said with it's I call it leet speak because it's like it mixes letters with numbers, and it says PR1 V4T3 dot exempt, not for non-commercial use only. Um, and then the original one I made, it just says private in regular words or regular letters with no driver's license or insurance required, not for commercial use, private mode of travel. Um, yeah, they're all nice, high quality aluminum. We don't really offer customization at this time, and I realize that some people might want customization so that they can, make it theirs, so to speak, or make it individualized.
Or make it look more like a regular license plate with a 3 random ABC 123 on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you would think that would be less eye-catching to law enforcement as they pass you if it looks maybe as a state that they haven't seen before, but it at least has the 3 numbers, 3 letters, or 4 letters, numbers, as most states do. That they would just blow it off.
Yeah, well, it's not important to me to look like a state plate or to blend in. As a matter of fact, that's less important than getting the message across. Because this plate, when the police see it, it's actually prima facie evidence that we're not contracted through the state as a driver. I want to keep that separate, because when a police officer pulls someone over that has a plate it's evidence that we're not operating in an official capacity for the state, they have no right to enforce a driving contract on the people who are not under that contract. When for example, someone who's driving drunk, when you get pulled over, you have the choice to do like a sobriety test, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you choose not to, they can typically take away your driver's license, right?
Yeah, something like that. For a year, right?
Yeah. So that to do that to someone who does not have a licensing contract with the state, it would be wrong, because they haven't waived that right. They haven't contractually waived those rights. Someone who went and applied for a driver's license at the DMV effectively has given up certain rights. That sobriety test one is one of them. You have a contractual obligation to do these things, or you lose your privilege. So what I'm trying to get across is that our right to travel is not a privilege granted by the state. It's not something that can be given or taken away on a whim, because we're not operating in that commercial capacity. We're not making money on the roads. So it's just difficult, because people have been indoctrinated over the years to just believe that driving is a privilege, and if the right to travel only includes walking, and those are, it seems to me, those are false. I don't know. It seems like the government has it's like they've created a way to extort revenue out of people, and by if you're not wearing your seatbelt, that could cost you $100. Yeah. And that's, I believe that should be something that applies to commercial drivers, because historically the drivers, if imagine you lived in a town in the Old West, and a cattle driver just brought his whole herd of cattle through the town and left a bunch of stuff on the road, and trampled a bunch of stuff. That the commercial drivers are the ones that even today do the most damage to the roads. The big long haul drivers and stuff. So I don't know. I believe that just the common man who's trying to transport his property from point A to point B, or go to church, or go to the store, I feel like they should be able to do that without begging for permission.
My guest is Trent Goodbody, founder of freedomfromgovernment.org. We're talking about his freedom license plates. By the way, the Genesis 1:26 is the verse I remember about dominion that God gave humans' dominion over all creatures and over the earth. I believe that's what that verse is.
Yeah.
You said that in a video, I think a couple months ago, that you actually had to go get a driver's license because I think you needed a loan for a car. So does that mean now that you have, as you stated just a little bit ago, given up some of those rights, and now that you have that driver's license, are you still going to be able to have your private license plates and not be hassled for it?
Yeah. Well, it depends on. I feel like people that have a driver's license can choose to operate in that capacity or not. If a cop was to pull me over and say that I was driving, I yeah, he would have to demonstrate how I am making money off the roads, or how I'm making money operating. Otherwise, I feel like that wouldn't I wouldn't be operating in that capacity. See, we have different capacities that we can operate under. I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a brother. There's certain capacities I can act in, and I'm not all of them at the same time, but I am
But
at the
since
same
since you're
time.
selling the license plates on your website,
Yeah,
aren't
yeah.
you technically advertising it by having it on the back of your car? Isn't that would that be work or commercial use?
Well, uh, technically, I guess, but I'm not. It's not like I'm. It's not like I'm getting paid to use the plate on my car or something when I'm just traveling to go to the store or something.
Right.
I mean, you could consider it to be an advertisement, but it doesn't say the name of the where I got it or anything. So it's kind of. I mean, it can advertise my status, but it doesn't mean that people know where to go to
Yeah.
get it. Just by looking at the plate.
It made me think of it because when I bought a car from a dealership years and years ago, they wanted to put that dealership name on the back of the car, and I said, "That's fine if you want to do that, but I'm going to charge you 10 cents a mile for that advertising." And they immediately took it off.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you do get pulled over, and I'm sure that still has to happen occasionally, when the
Yeah.
officer asks for your license, obviously you have that. When he asks you for registration, you're not going to have that. So at that point, what is your argument? I see that you also have this lawful traveler package. Does that explain to the officer what your position is, and what is their reaction when you tell them that?
Well, when a police officer comes up to my window asking for license, registration, and insurance, I just return a question. I ask him if he's planning on using any of those against me in the court. And if he says yes, he is planning on using those against me in court, then I tell him that he has to take them from me so that I can get them excluded from the court's own exclusionary rule. Anything that's taken from you, uh, or when you're under threat or duress, uh, I believe that those things are not. They're not obtained in a lawful manner. So if you don't just hand over your stuff to them, you can get it. You can get the things dismissed, or the not maybe not the things not maybe sorry maybe not the things dismissed, but you can get um, the evidence that was obtained illegally thrown out. So I asked him if he's planning on using any of those things against me in court. And if he says yes, then there's that. If he says no, then what's the point? Why are we even talking? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Do you have insurance on the vehicle?
yeah, I do.
Okay. And how can you get insurance if you don't have registration?
You can get insurance without a license, even.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So in
And
case of a crash, then you would be covered, or at least you'd be able to cover yourself or somebody else that might be hurt.
yeah, I have full coverage.
Okay.
So, and that's not a bad thing. I've gone back and forth on trying to figure out if paying a third party for profit company to indemnify my actions is really the right way to go. But um, I don't know. Seems to make people more at ease when they hear that you have an insurance policy.
Right.
But I'm not saying that that's going to protect me. What protects me is being accountable for my actions.
Yeah. So obviously you haven't paid state registration for these vehicles for years and years and years. I presume. How much have you saved, do you think, over the last however many years?
Oh, probably quite a bit. Where I live here in Nevada, they charge registration fees based on the value of the vehicle. So I don't know. I mean, it could vary, but I imagine I've saved quite a bit.
If someone was listening and was interested in putting one of your plates on their car, going to your website, freedomfromgovernment.org, and ordering one of your plates and then putting it on their car, what would be some of the top pieces of advice you would have for them before they do it and before they start driving with it?
The biggest thing I can tell you is to not get an attitude. If you get pulled over and you start screaming, "I know my rights" and this and that, the first thing the cop's going to do is show you what your rights are, and he's going to show you that he has the bigger stick, so to speak. He's gonna show his authority. So what I like to tell people to do is to be kind, treat them how you would want to be treated. Don't try to. I don't know. There are brothers. We kind of have to. We have to unify if we're gonna ever. If we're ever gonna get anywhere. Us people that can't control our emotions we aren't really gonna be very successful if we can't even control that. So
And you do have this lawful traveler package as part of these plates. And
yeah.
as I read on the site, it basically gives you some talking points to tell the officer of what to do, right?
Well, I mean, I have these things called exercise your rights cards, and those in the past I've said that you could hand those to the cop, but that's presuming that they want to read anything that you have. I I think the side of the road is probably not the best place to argue your case. So if things really look like they're going to go bad, just ask the cop if you can please argue this case in court instead of on the side of the road. And I don't know. They don't. It seems like the police aren't really equipped to handle evidence or to make determinations like that on the side of the road anyway. So if you're being kind to them, it gives them less of a reason to try to kind of like hem you up and give you I don't know. I think that we all need to be decent and respectful to each other, and I don't know. Always record.
Yeah,
I would even say
go ahead.
Always publish.
Yeah, and
I would just say always record, always publish.
And I'm sure that you've seen those videos of people recording and almost instigating interactions with officers where they get pulled over, let's say at a checkpoint or some other place. They only open their window a tiny crack and say, and basically are yelling, "Am I being detained? Am I being detained?" And then the cop is like, "Well, some just say, all right, I'm just going to let you go because I don't want to deal with this." And some are bringing in supervisors and then breaking in windows and pulling people out of their car. And so it seems like there is a movement almost to do these interactions with police to get some kind of some kind of a reaction from them.
Yeah, that may be, but that's not what I'm about. I mean, I'm not trying to antagonize anybody or harass anybody. I just want to be left alone to do what I'm going to do. And of course, if there's some kind of problem, if I initiate an accident or something or cause harm or damage to someone or loss, I mean, I will take care of whatever I do that's wrong. But I don't feel like I need You know, some things that happen at traffic stops are like pretextual, like just trying to get people in trouble for technical reasons. And I think that we need to move away from that thing where the the people who we entrust to serve us and to be our servants are actually the ones extorting us at gunpoint. It's difficult, and I feel like we could do better than that.
My guest is Trent Goodbody, founder of freedomfromgovernment.org, and we're talking about his private license plates that you can order at freedomfromgovernment.org. Have you had any anecdotes or stories sent to you from any of the 7,000 orders that you've received from some of the drivers that have used your plates?
Yeah, there's been all kinds of feedback.
And what is some of that feedback?
Well, I had a friend in Oregon who I used to live up there for 30 years, and he was in an area where the police had become accustomed to who I am, and he said that he called me, or he said he was on the phone with me while the cop was talking to him, and the cop just let him go because he said he was on the phone with me. But there's other, I mean, there's so many different uh, things that have happened. People tell me that the cops just avoid them now that they have the plates on there, and uh, I don't know. I have some videos on my channel of what has happened to some people, some successes, and I don't know. I haven't always been successful. There was one time when I when I was on Discovery Channel, I got arrested on national TV. Um, that was the time that I had the clergy plate on there, but I don't know. It can go either way, but it will typically go better if you can maintain, you know, your emotions on the side of the road.
Where do you see this movement going? Do you expect more people to contact you and buy these plates? Do you expect to see more and more of these plates and maybe bring this issue to more of a head?
Well, I mean, the plates being out there are good and everything, but I would like to see us get to a place where we're not mandated to have that on our car at all anymore, and it's going to get there. As a matter of fact, we're approaching quickly the time where cars are going to be autonomous anyway. So with this little thing that's going on with people not wanting to have license plates, it's not going to be forever. That cars are going to end up being autonomous, and I think driver's license are probably going to go the way of the dodo eventually anyway, because I mean, you won't need a license if your car drives for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we're rapidly approaching that point. Uh, Elon Musk says by 2030 cars will be autonomous. So
I know,
it's coming up.
I've seen those same predictions. It seems to me that it's going to take a lot longer because there is the human element, there's road elements. I'm sure the roads around you are not as pristine as they're not around
Yeah,
my place. They're not that pristine where it could handle autonomous cars. Right now, I
yeah,
think that's a long way down the road because the infrastructure has
yeah,
to be there, the lights, the traffic signals, cars have to talk to each other. We still have a lot of older cars on the road. I'm driving a 11-year-old vehicle, so some of these older
yeah,
cars have to get off the road first before we really start to see the autonomous.
yeah,
And maybe it's going to be more just in the urban centers than it will be in the outlying areas. In the rural
yeah,
areas, you're still going to have people driving tractors, and I don't think you're going to have any.
yeah,
I know I
yeah,
see that around in the rural areas here in Colorado, so I don't think you're seeing any autonomous tractors anytime soon.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I hopefully they kind of just let people be, because I think that by smashing windows and dragging people out of the car and making them into criminals when they haven't even when they don't even have a victim. I feel like that's wrong. But just like with the marijuana thing, people fought for years to get that to be legal, and it ended up being something that is now legal. So I don't see it as something in the realm of impossibility to get this to a place where where we can just be how we want. We just want to be left alone, to travel and to do our thing. And of course, if someone's out there being reckless or not doing things appropriately, if they're getting into wrecks or accidents a lot, they aren't going to have a car to be able to cruise around in anymore. So uh, if someone is reckless, that they'll take care of themselves. And I'm not saying that it's good for them to be in an accident, but if they're not responsible with their property, then they probably won't have it very long anyway.
But couldn't you see there as a difference between, let's say, somebody who is just being reckless and, some teenage kids, that sort of thing, or maybe there's a criminal element here who would like to use these type of plates to, create anonymity or just not have any license plates at all, and then you're almost running into anarchy at that point.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Anarchy just means no rulers, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, it also means that there's nobody to help protect you in the case of, let's say, I'm probably I'm probably safe in saying that you can protect your own home if somebody is trying to break in with deadly force, but not everybody is ready to do that and appreciates at least having the ability to call somebody to come help them out if they need the help.
Yeah, well, most of the time when people are in trouble like that, the police are not they're not going to be able to respond to save you. They're going to be at least minutes away, So I don't know. It's kind of like a false, something false when we think that we can rely on calling someone to come save us. Most of the time when the police are called, they, I don't know, they don't do the right thing. It seems like, or I don't know. I can't say that in every situation the police are doing the right thing, but I know that I've heard stories of people that call the police and end up going to jail when they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's. I don't know. The world is in a messed up place too. Like crime is rampant, and stuff is going crazy. But I don't see that as a reason to add more ways that the state can generate revenue off of people, namely traffic violations. We all know that speeding tickets are a big revenue generator. And someone that is speeding hasn't really done anything wrong, unless they hit someone. And if someone's just getting a speeding ticket, basically they went a little bit fast on the highway, but they didn't hurt anybody. Yep. So I don't know if it's appropriate for the state to be generating revenue off of the backs of the people it's supposed to be serving, especially when the economy is in a rough place. These agencies get dependent on this money, and they have to generate more of it to make ends meet. So it's not. I don't think it's a good idea for our public safety departments to be generating revenue off the backs of the people they're supposed to be serving.
And speaking of revenue, that's what registrations do provide revenue for. Roads and bridges. Would you then propose to use just general funds then to fund highway constructions or road construction? Or
the roads and the road constructions are paid by gas tax. They're paid by taxes on the gas.
With more people driving electric, then there is less gas tax, and registration money does go to bridges and roads and maintenance and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah. I understand that. But it would be wrong for me to say that, because my tax was paid for the roads, you can't use them. That would be ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
My guest is Trent Goodbody. We're talking about his license plates that you can find on freedomfromgovernment.org. Trent, it's been an interesting conversation, and I do appreciate your time. And if somebody was interested in your license plates, how can they get some more information and get a chance to learn more?
Well, I'm constantly posting videos on my YouTube channel, Freedom from Government, and I have my phone numbers at the top of every page at shop.freedomfromgovernment.org. So if you want, you can give me a call.
Okay. Just like I did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Trent, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for explaining what this is all about, and it's fascinating to see this movement moving forward and to see how it's going to grow and where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, I agree.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Now, I want to stay right off the end here that I did not edit any of Trent's comments. It was just as we spoke a couple days ago. I did fix one part of the interview where I messed up his name, and that was my fault, not his fault. And so I just cleaned up where I messed up his name. But that was the only editing I did for this interview, so I don't want anyone to claim otherwise or say that I changed Trent's words or context of his comments. You heard it as we talked just the other day, because I told them this was going to be an interview as if it was live. We were going to just replay it right here a couple days later. Now, my gut tells me that this movement will grow, and if I'm being sent pictures, then I'm sure there are people out there seeing these different variations of these license plates too. And that will create more curiosity and so on and so forth. And then, before you know it, you're staring at a movement. And it was interesting to hear Trent's comments about putting the name of a state on these license plates, or I guess replacement plates, I guess we can call them, and how that could be a problem. I remember doing a separate story, maybe it was even a couple years back, where someone went online and ordered one of these that you'll see them online everywhere. They're those thin, skinny, European-style license plates, and I'm sure you've seen those on the cars, like in a James Bond movie, where they're longer and skinnier than the United States plates, which are more rectangular. Well, he ordered one of those, and you can customize them with the state on the top, and he used his real license plate numbers on one of those plates and then stuck it on his car. Now, when I was researching that story, according to the Colorado State Patrol, they say that kind of a plate, even if it did have the correct numbers and letters in combination, it wasn't legal. Well, I'm sure they would say the same thing about these sovereign plates, and it really, I think, would depend on where you are in the country, what law enforcement officer would pull that driver over, and what kind of conflict. I'm sure you've seen them. I've seen them all over all kinds of social media, YouTube, they're full of it, where they have these interactions where people, and a lot of them now are people, let's say, taking video at or near a police station or a government facility, a military base, where they're just standing on the sidewalk, which they're legally able to do, and then just take video of the police officers coming in and out. And, well, it just looks like some rando, using their cell phone to shoot video. Well, the officers naturally stop to ask questions, and then they ask for ID, and then the person says, I don't need to show you my ID because I'm standing on a sidewalk and I'm just shooting you in public. And when I say shooting, I mean shooting video. I'm just taking video of this stuff happening in public, and then the police say, well, we just are interested in what you're doing, so why won't you ID yourself? And then sometimes it escalates to something bigger, and sometimes they just say, the officers say, okay, fine, go ahead and do what you want to do. It's like they're baiting, and that's what I was talking to Trent a little bit about. They're baiting the officers into some kind of an interaction. It seems like these plates could be in that same realm. Trent does have several videos on his site that you can get to YouTube. Freedom from Government is his channel. And he did have it, he called it a bait car, where he was driving around and in looking for some interaction with the officers. And I think he has grown past that now. And I think in the place where he lives there in Nevada, in rural Nevada, is they know him, they know his stance, and they're just going to let him be for the most part. But it's interesting to see how this movement has developed to this point and will continue to develop in the future. Trent said he had 7,000 orders. That's a lot of orders for a lot of these replacement plates. And I could only see that growing. If it's just Trent getting 7,000, well, what are these other websites getting? Another 10,000 from a couple, let's say a half a dozen plates. So, we're looking at 500,000 license plates or replacement plates that could be out there in the wild right now. So I don't think we've heard the end of this. Anyway, if you have any questions about this or comments about this, you can always call the listener hotline at 303-832-0217. I wonder if my work number is going to work when we move buildings next year. I wonder if we're even going to have traditional phone lines. Maybe just internet phone. I don't know. Because we're moving buildings in another year from now, and so I wonder how that's gonna work out. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Thanks for being here, and until next time, I'm Jason Liber, the traffic guy. Be safe, and as always, happy motoring.